This page is the cover of 64 magazine, issue 45, featuring The Rock from WWF on the front for their exclusive review of WWF No Mercy. This was a highly anticipated wrestling game on the N64 and turned out to be one of the best on the console. Also highlighted for review are F1 Racing Championship, Duck Dodgers and Pokemon Snap, alongside mentions of Army Men, Air Combat, Brunswick Bowling, and Mario Tennis. Inside, they covered ECTS 2000, featuring gaming legend Shigeru Miyamoto, and even got an early look at the Nintendo GameCube, which was known as Dolphin at the time. It also shows Charmander and Seadra from Pokemon on the cover. This page is an advert for gameplay, highlighting Konami's International Superstar Soccer 2000 for the N64. It followed the legendary ISS Pro Evolution, and featured improved AI, an RPG mode, and a scenario mode to replay classic qualification moments. You can see various screenshots from the game here, showcasing the action. The ad also features Perfect Dark, and a list of many other N64 games and accessories, like controllers, memory packs, and steering wheels available to order. They offered free first-class delivery and a 10-day returns policy, reachable via hotline, website, interactive TV, WAP, and phone. This page features the magazine's editorial and introduces the team, leaning heavily into a wrestling theme. The editor talks about a busy month, scoring the first review code for WWF No Mercy, and meeting the legendary Shigeru Miyamoto, creator of Zelda and Mario, discussing Nintendo's future, which is revealed to be the GameCube. The team members are humorously introduced alongside pictures, with descriptions linking them to wrestling personas, fitting with the review of WWF No Mercy. There's also a section for Cheats Unlimited, a service covering over 3,000 games across multiple platforms including the N64, listing many titles alphabetically, and providing phone numbers and a website to access cheats. The magazine cover featuring The Rock from WWF No Mercy is shown, alongside images of Banjo-Kazooie and Mario. This page is the contents page, listing out all the features including the big exclusive WWF No Mercy review, and the UK updates for Pokemon Snap and Mario Tennis. It also shows the ECTS show report, and the F1 Racing Championship review mentioned in the editorial. This page covers the huge reveal of the Nintendo GameCube console. Nintendo finally showed off their next machine, looking like a little purple cube. It uses these small discs, like mini DVDs, and has a brand new controller, though you can actually hook up your Game Boy Advance and use that with the link cable shown here. Udoki. They had some cracking tech demos running at ECTS. One showed off loads of Marios all moving around independently. Impressive stuff. Konami looks like they're fully on board too, with International Superstar Soccer coming, and hopefully more like Mystical Ninja. Over at the Tokyo Toy Show, Capcom announced Resident Evil 0 was coming to the GameCube, which is a big deal. And Factor 5, who did the brilliant Rogue Squadron on N64, are busy working on Rogue Squadron 2 for the new machine, and another shoot-'em-up. Looks like Nintendo's next generation is shaping up nicely. You can see screenshots here showing off some potential game visuals like Zelda, Luigi, and a Samus that looks just like she did back on the SNES. This page kicks off with the Game Watch section, which is always essential for seeing what's on the horizon for the N64. It's got a big list of games expected to release in the coming months, both here in the UK and from the US and Japan. Interestingly, it still lists games like Resident Evil 0 and StarCraft 64 for the N64, which we now know never actually came out on the console. A reminder of how release plans could change back then. Below that you've got the magazine charts showing the current top 10 64 games, giving you a snapshot of what everyone was playing and rating highly at the time. At the bottom of the page there are screenshots highlighting a few games. Resident Evil 0 and StarCraft 64, those unreleased ones again, plus classics like Zelda, Majora's Mask, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and Banjo-Tooie. There's also a competition on the page related to Scooby-Doo videos and Game Boy Color games, and a DVD review section for Jurassic Park, but the main N64 focus is definitely on the upcoming games list and the charts. This page features the letters section, where readers share their thoughts on the N64 and its games. One letter questions the release of poor quality games, specifically calling out Carmageddon 64 and Superman. Another covers a wide range of titles, praising classics like Zelda, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, while mentioning expected but unreleased games like Resident Evil 0 for the N64. There's even a song dedicated to Shigeru Miyamoto, mentioning Mario, The Star Letter winner describes their positive move from PlayStation to N64, greatly enjoying GoldenEye and highlighting games like Star Wars Pod Racer and F-Zero X. Another reader asks about a tips book for Banjo-Kazooie. The page features images of Link from Zelda, James Bond, Banjo and Kazooie, and screenshots from games like Carmageddon 64 and Star Wars Pod Racer. The star prize this month is a bundle of N64 peripherals. This page continues the reader letters section, with people airing their views on 64 games and the magazine itself. There's a big debate raging about Perfect Dark, with one reader questioning its quality compared to GoldenEye, while another insists it's brilliant and requires the expansion pack, arguing against claims about its graphics and age rating. The discussion touches upon whether violent games corrupt young minds. Other games getting a mention include Mission Impossible, which a reader felt was better than other magazines rated it, and disappointment with F1 World Grand Prix. Sports games are also discussed, with differing opinions on the quality of basketball titles like NBA Courtside, and praise for World Driver Championship. The future console, referred to as Project Dolphin, which we now know as the GameCube, is briefly touched upon. Visuals include a large image of Joanna Dark from Perfect Dark, a small shot of Mario, screenshots from Perfect Dark, and even some postcard scenes reflecting a reader's location. There's also a big advert for Dreamcast magazine showing various Dreamcast games and the console. This page is a big competition giving away a serious Sony widescreen TV and WWF goodie bags, all to mark the release of the excellent WWF No Mercy on the N64, featuring questions about all the top wrestling stars. This page covers the ECTS 2000 show, highlighting Nintendo's huge presence, taking up half the main hall with N64, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance displays. The biggest draw was the attendance and interview with Shigeru Miyamoto. The interview discusses the transition to DVD for the GameCube, and how the system design, with more RAM, makes development easier compared to cartridge-based systems like the N64. Miyamoto explains he gets game ideas by thinking about what he'd like to play and observing players. He also addresses the upcoming console generation, stating Nintendo's focus isn't on fighting a war, but on creating attractive games that families can enjoy together, offering quality software rather than being a multi-purpose machine. Screenshots show Pokémon N64 units running Pokémon Snap, and a shot of Conker's Bad Fur Day, which the article notes is getting better, gorier and louder each time they see it. The large Nintendo stand with Pokémon artwork is also featured. ECT's 2000 coverage highlights Nintendo's presence, particularly the Game Boy Advance and its connectivity plans with the GameCube. An interview with Shigeru Miyamoto touches on the future of games, emphasizing fun gameplay over cinematic experiences, and hinting at new character development. He also mentions Metroid's development. A key demonstration showcased the GameCube's power with the Mario 128 demo. The demo displayed up to 128 Mario characters running simultaneously on a dynamic landscape, while utilizing minimal processing power. This display was a testament to the console's capabilities. The next page continues the coverage of ECTS 2000, featuring more snapshots from the show floor, including attendees dressed up and booth staff. The main focus on the left is the continuation of the interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, picking up on his thoughts about game design, where he stresses the value of creative ideas over just high-fidelity graphics. He talks about N64 games he's enjoyed, specifically mentioning the quality of Rare's titles, but notes a lack of truly new or unique experiences overall on the console. He discusses the future ease of development for GameCube compared to the N64's cartridge system, and explains his current role overseeing many projects, mentioning key ones like Zelda and the Mario series, alongside the significant push for Game Boy Advance connectivity with the GameCube. He also confirms he's still playing games, including Zelda, Majora's Mask, which is shown in a picture of show attendees trying out the game on 64s. The right side is dominated by a big advert for a new magazine called P2, dedicated to the upcoming launch of the PlayStation 2 console, which is due out in the UK on the 24th of November. The advert highlights that P2 will cover PS2 games extensively with reviews, previews and news, but also includes DVD reviews, positioning itself as a quality magazine for the new Sony machine, with its first issue hitting shelves on the 27th of September 2000. This page is running a cracking competition linked to the release of Infogrames' Duck Dodgers game on N64, with the top prize being a Panasonic digital video camera. You had to answer 4 questions about the game, its characters like Daffy and Porky, and some general knowledge, plus write a funny tiebreaker to be in with a chance of winning the camera and all the included gear. There are a few screenshots from the Duck Dodgers game shown on the page too. This page is packed with reviews, kicking off with a big look at WWF No Mercy, featuring shots of wrestlers like The Rock and action from the ring. The magazine reckons it's the game N64 wrestling fans have been waiting for, and even if you're not into wrestling, you'll still love it. There are also brief reviews for F1 Racing Championship, Duck Dodgers in the 24th century, following on from the competition last issue, Army Men, Air Combat, Brunswick Circuit Pro Bowling, Pokemon Snap, and Mario Tennis, each with a relevant screenshot or image. The page also explains the magazine's review system, detailing what the various info boxes cover, the $64,000 question pros and cons, the PAL performance test, memory options, who supplied the game, the rating categories, graphics, audio, gameplay, challenge, and how the overall score percentages break down. This page is a massive feature on WWF No Mercy, giving it a full review. It's kicked off with a huge shot of The Rock, and the magazine is absolutely raving about it, pretty much calling it the best wrestling game ever released on the N64. They highlight the improved championship mode, which is a big step up from WrestleMania 2000, and showcase the sheer variety of match types, including the Chowtech hardcore rules where you can take the action anywhere. There are several screenshots showing the game in action, from tag matches in the ring, to single bouts featuring wrestlers like Steve Austin and Chris Benoit. It's clear the magazine reckons this is the one wrestling fans have been waiting for. This page carries on with the review for WWF No Mercy, and they're absolutely buzzing about it, slamming it with a 95% and a gold award. They reckon THQ have properly stepped it up from WrestleMania 2000. The character models look much better, the animation's smoother, and the arenas are packed out, looking much more realistic. The roster is huge, apparently the biggest yet, with loads of lads like Stone Cold, The Rock, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle, all in there. Plus you've got 18 secret characters to unlock, even non-wrestlers like the McMahons apparently. They're particularly chuffed with the ladder match, calling it the most stupendous addition. All the classic matches are still there, plus some new specialist ones. The Creator Wrestler mode sounds proper deep this time, with tons of options from the SmackDown mall. Even the sound's improved, with all the entrance themes spot on. They're clearly over the moon with it, saying it's the wrestling fan's dream game. The screenshots show various matches, character select screens, and a peek at the creation options. This page carries on with the glowing review of WWF No Mercy, diving deeper into the sheer carnage and features on offer. They talk about the essential tables, ladders and chairs, noting how hardcore matches let you fight all over the arena, even backstage in places like the locker room and parking lot, which sounds absolutely proper Chowtech. The game's championship mode is highlighted, detailing how it offers interactive storylines with different paths and stipulations, depending on the title you go for. They reckon THQ have really overhauled it from WrestleMania 2000, making it far more engaging. Entrances are mentioned too, apparently nailing the real feel of the shows, which is a nice touch. There's also a big section dedicated to the finishing moves, rightly calling them an essential part of wrestling, and confirming all the big ones are in there, showing screens of classics like the Stone Cold Stunner and the Rock's People's Elbow. The Creator Character mode gets another mention, with the headline, "Pimpin' Ain't Easy," suggesting it's extensive, which was always a major draw for these games. Screenshots throughout show various match types, backstage brawls, wrestler entrances, and those all-important finishing moves. This page carries on with the review of WWF No Mercy, and it's clearly continuing the high praise from the previous page. They really delve into the character creation mode here, confirming just how deep it is, letting you customize practically everything from appearance down to specific items and weapons found in the game's SmackDown mall. They make it clear that this mode blows the one in WrestleMania 2000 right out of the water, which is saying something as that was a decent mode itself. There are screenshots showing some of the key moves and moments, including The Rock's People's Elbow and Scotty 2 Hotty's famous worm, which gets its own little highlight box. Absolutely spot on, that move was pure entertainment. They also reveal some of the super secret hidden characters you can unlock, mentioning legends like Shawn Michaels and Andre the Giant, as well as some surprising additions like Michael Cole and the Fabulous Moolah. Unlocking these adds a great layer of replayability, the review finishes strong, calling it potentially the best wrestling game ever seen on the console. It lists alternatives like WrestleMania 2000 and WCW/NWO Revenge, and gives a breakdown of category ratings for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in a truly impressive overall score of 95%. The second opinion backs this up, calling it the epitome of the genre. The controls are also laid out simply, showing how intuitive they are for pulling off all the moves. This page jumps into the review for F1 Racing Championship. They're keen to stress the realism on offer here, explaining you can dive deep into car setup and there are different ways to play, from the full-blown simulation championship to a quicker arcade mode for just getting straight into the action. The graphics really give you a sense of speed, with the environment flying by convincingly. They highlight features like pit stops where you can sort out damage, though apparently, crashing comes at a cost. There are screenshots showing the car setup screen, picking your driver like Hakkinen or Coulthard, a pit stop sequence with the crew, and the view from the cockpit during a race. It seems like a good-looking racer, but maybe one that takes a bit of mastering, which they mention in the quick pro and con summary. This page continues the look at F1 Racing Championship, kicking off by talking about the huge choice of drivers and tracks on offer, saying there are even more circuits than fingers and toes. They really push the idea of hitting the training mode first before diving into the main races, suggesting the real game is tough if you're not ready. There are some great screenshots showing the grid lineup, a car getting stuck in the sand, and a cool aerial view of a car on track, highlighting the detail in the environments, even down to dirt sticking to the tires. They touch on the different camera views and how the sound changes depending on where you are. The page also breaks down the N64 controller layout for the game, and gives a nod to other F1 games available on the system in the alternatives section. It wraps up the review with a second opinion, and the final scores, landing on a cracking 92% overall. Seems like they reckon this is a top-tier F1 racer for the N64, perfect if you don't already have one. This page is a review of Duck Dodgers in the 24th century. It's a platform game where you play as Daffy Duck and his Duck Dodgers guys, tasked with stopping Marvin the Martian from destroying Earth by collecting scattered atoms. You've got Space Cadet Porky along for the ride too. The game sends you to different planets, each themed after a classic Looney Tunes villain like Rocky the Gangster and Yosemite Sam. There are several screenshots showing the game in action, featuring Daffy, Porky, Marvin, and various environments like space and a disco floor. The review highlights that the game is colorful and imaginative, with care put into its design. However, it also mentions some tricky moments, especially when dealing with guards or tackling difficult challenges. It suggests that while the game has good points, there can be some frustrating parts, particularly the save system and some platforming sections. The Ninfo box confirms it's a platformer with support for Controller Park and Rumble Park. It was developed by Paradigm and published by Infogrames. For those of us in the UK, this game never actually saw a full retail release on the N64, which is a shame as it looked like a decent cartoon platformer for the system. The review of Duck Dodgers in the 24th century praises its stunning presentation, perfectly capturing the classic Warner Bros. Cartoon style. The game excels with its humor and specially recorded dialogue, seamlessly integrated into gameplay. A variety of gameplay keeps things interesting, including platforming, spaceship sections, and a Doom mode, along with diversions like a gymnasium challenge and boxing match. However, the review highlights frustrations with a poorly implemented save system and challenging platforming sections that can interrupt the flow. Despite these issues, the game receives high marks across the board. Graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge all score well. The overall score is 85%, and a second opinion echoes the appeal. The review concludes that it's a great Looney Tunes game, marred only by minor frustrations. It's unfortunate that it never got a full UK release. Warrant. This page is looking at Army Men, Air Combat, where the plastic soldiers take to the skies in helicopters. It's pitched as being similar to Nuclear Strike, putting you in the cockpit to stop the Tan Army. The review mentions the winch as a rather innovative feature for picking things up. While the graphics are noted as being a bit ropey, especially in split-screen multiplayer, the game is highlighted as having good gameplay and physics. The single-player mode is considered a bit short, and the sound effects are just average. However, the real fun comes from the multiplayer modes. The cooperative mode lets 2 players tackle the entire game together, and there are various versus modes for up to 4 players including standard deathmatch and capture the flag, plus a rather unique bug hunt where you play as an exterminator. The screenshots show off various moments, from action with explosions to the train escort mission and the flying saucer support unit. It came out in 2000, so it was one of the later N64 releases. Army Men. Air Combat is a helicopter action game where players battle the Tan Army across 16 missions. The game features various weapons and a unique winch mechanic allowing for strategic gameplay, such as manipulating insects to attack enemies. Different co-pilots with varying strengths add depth to the experience. While single-player missions are short, the game offers a decent challenge. Multiplayer modes, including a 4-player option, are enjoyable despite the dated graphics, potentially ported from the PlayStation version. The game is praised for its fun, though the visuals and sound are considered average. The game received a 69% overall score, with titles like Nuclear Strike and Army Men, Sarge's Heroes being offered as alternatives. This page covers the review of Brunswick Circuit Pro Bowling. It talks about the game being a 10-pin bowling simulation, noting that while it attempts realism in physics, it seems to lack the actual fun of playing. The review mentions frustrating elements like balls disappearing and the time it takes, holding up other players. Graphically, it points out the lanes look like cardboard cutouts, and the audience appears to be made of them too, which is a rather strange visual choice. There's a section discussing creating your own bowler, allowing for customization like build, hair, and shirt color, but curiously, not the character's sex. The game modes include exhibition, skins, tournament, career, and practice, plus a cosmic bowl gimmick. The review suggests the game feels more like an advertisement for Brunswick products and pro staff players, rather than a deep bowling simulation. It notes the game is an import primarily aimed at the American market. Overall, the review highlights the game's repetitive nature and lack of variation despite attempting realism. It scores poorly across graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an overall score of 55%. The soundbite pretty much sums it up: an average to dull bowling game, don't bother with it. Milo's Astro Lanes is listed as an alternative, reviewed in an earlier issue. This page covers the UK update for Pokemon Snap. It's a look at the upcoming release of the game that takes the whole Pokemon phenomenon in a different direction. Instead of battling, you're tasked with riding along in a vehicle and taking photographs of the various creatures in their natural habitats. You've got the classic Pokemon here like Pikachu, Charmander, Squirtle, and Meowth, along with the legendary Mew making an appearance. The goal is to get the best shots possible for Professor Oak to grade, which adds a scoring element and encourages replayability to improve your pictures. The game takes you through 7 different courses across an island, each with unique Pokemon to find and photograph. Screenshots show various moments like trying to interact with Pokemon, Professor Oak evaluating photos, the course selection screen, and different environments like beaches, tunnels, and volcanoes. It's highlighted as a simple yet addictive experience, focusing on timing and observation, rather than combat. The article also touches on the massive popularity of Pokemon at the time, mentioning the sales success of games like Pokemon Stadium and Perfect Dark as context. It confirms the PAL version shows no noticeable borders or loss of speed compared to the import, which is always good news for UK gamers. This page takes a closer look at the mechanics and review of Pokemon Snap. It breaks down exactly how Professor Oak grades your photos, scoring based on the Pokemon's size, pose, technique, and how many are in the shot. Using items like the Pester Ball, or the Pokeflute, or even just lobbing fruit, can influence the Pokemon to get better reactions and score higher. There are secrets to uncover, like hidden signs and activating events, including causing Pokemon to evolve, such as making Charmander turn into Charizard right before your eyes for a fantastic photo opportunity. You're limited to 60 shots per trip, so you need to make them count. The review section, Snap Happy, declares the game is of the highest quality, praising its simple, addictive nature and replayability. While easy to pick up, mastering getting perfect shots provides the challenge. It's seen as a must-play for Pokemon fans, and highly recommended even if you're not usually into the creatures, offering a truly unique experience. The ratings are strong across the board, leading to an impressive overall score of 90%. The second opinion echoes the sentiment, finding it surprisingly fun for a shooting game, without any actual guns. The page also shows the N64 controller layout for the game, and lists Pokemon Stadium as an alternative. This page dives into the UK version of Mario Tennis, following up on the preview of the Japanese release. It confirms that while it was reviewed previously, this is the final PAL version, and surprisingly there aren't significant differences between the two, despite some initial speculation. The game is described as taking the well-known sport of tennis, and giving it a distinct Nintendo twist, adding Mario characters and plenty of colorful action, apparently sprinkled with a ton of classy flourishes. The review highlights the simple, accessible controls using the analog stick and 2 buttons, making it easy for anyone to pick up and play, even those who aren't usually into sports simulations. Despite this simplicity, it's noted as being incredibly addictive and offering plenty of depth, particularly when mastering techniques like power shots. Positioning your character correctly is key to success. Characters like Mario, Luigi, Waluigi, Wario, and Donkey Kong are featured prominently in screenshots, showcasing the vibrant cast. The article mentions the fun of family rivalry, placing the game in the context of Nintendo characters competing just like real-life sports stars. Screenshots show gameplay in progress, a character select screen featuring a large roster, and match results, giving a good feel for the game's presentation and modes. The PAL version is confirmed to have no apparent speed loss compared to the imports, which is always good news. It sounds like a thoroughly enjoyable take on tennis. Mario Tennis on the N64 is lauded for its depth, exceeding basic tennis gameplay. Featuring a large character roster, including Waluigi's debut, each with unique abilities, the game offers diverse court surfaces that affect ball behavior. A standout feature is its connectivity with the Game Boy Color version, enabling character training and transfer with RPG-style progression. The game includes various modes, such as tournaments and ring shot, with impressive graphics and animation. Although long rallies can occasionally falter, the review is overwhelmingly positive, praising Nintendo's ability to blend realistic tennis physics with Mario's charm. Awarded a 92% score and deemed a must-have, Mario Tennis is considered a gem for the N64. The next page features an advertisement for the Explorer 64, a cheat cartridge for the Nintendo 64. This accessory enhances gameplay by offering benefits like increased power, ammo, and in-game currency, along with revealing hidden secrets. The ad promotes it as the ultimate cheat cartridge, claiming it was the best-selling in the UK during 1998. The page also includes a large section dedicated to Game Boy Color games, detailing their review system, and features artwork of Joanna Dark from Perfect Dark, a standout N64 title. This page features reviews for 2 Game Boy Color titles, fitting with the magazine covering portable games alongside the N64. First up is Disney's Dinosaur, an adventure game based on the film. It's a top-down puzzle and platformer where you guide various dinosaurs, and the review notes the gameplay, despite its simplicity, is strangely compelling. It scores a respectable 85% overall, and includes GBC screenshots showing the prehistoric settings and characters. Below that is a review for Daikatana on the Game Boy Color. This is an RPG adventure title that involves time travel, and the review highlights how visually it owes a lot to the GBC Zelda games. It touches upon the notorious plot and dialogue, but finds the gameplay involving for adventure fans, and gives it a solid 92% overall score. The review mentions they covered the N64 version in a previous issue, so this is clearly the portable take on the game. Several GBC screenshots show the game's isometric perspective and combat. This page features a review for Perfect Dark on the Game Boy Color. It's covered here as a portable spin-off of the classic N64 title. The review establishes that this GBC version is a prequel, following Joanna Dark during her training before the events of the N64 game. It highlights the focus on stealth and precision, noting it requires patience and skill, suggesting it's not for younger players. The review mentions the difficulty, particularly how failing a mission sends you right back to the start, which can be frustrating. It also points out the scarcity of ammo and energy, forcing careful play. Despite the challenges, the reviewer praises the game as smart with an excellent variety of levels, and appreciates the unique feature of voice acting, mentioning Joanna, Daniel Carrington, and Max Danger. Screenshots show various aspects of the GBC game, including boss encounters, stealth gameplay, sniper sections, hostage rescue scenarios, target practice, and character portraits. The game receives strong ratings across the board for graphics, audio, gameplay, and challenge, culminating in an impressive overall score of 90%. It's described as a significant step forward for the Game Boy Color, a real challenge, and likely one of the few genuinely adult games on the system at the time. This page features reviews for a couple of interesting titles. First up is Lemmings, and oh no, more Lemmings. Now Lemmings is an absolute classic, isn't it? This version brings the familiar puzzle action to the handheld, where you guide those little green-haired chaps through tricky levels, giving them jobs like digging, building, or blocking to reach the exit. It's known for its simple concept but can get devilishly difficult, especially when you're trying to figure out the best way to save them all while battling hazards. It's definitely one of those games that grabs you and doesn't let go, perfect for picking up and playing on the go. It earns a cracking overall score of 93%. Sure. Alongside that, we have a look at Lucky Luke, Desperado Train. This one's based on the European comic strip, putting you in the boots of Lucky Luke himself, off to stop a runaway train. It's a Western adventure, with various challenges thrown at you, from shootouts to other sorts of action sequences. The review mentions it can be a bit of a tough ride, sometimes feeling more frustrating than challenging, particularly with the controls when you're playing as different characters or even Luke's horse. While it tries to offer variety, it sounds like it might not quite live up to the source material. It scores an overall score of 68%. Both reviews give you a good sense of what to expect from these handheld takes on familiar properties. This page features a review for Formula 1 2000 on the Game Boy Color. The review gets straight into it, explaining the basic setup. Pick a car and driver, choose a track, and race. It notes the review points out the control method isn't ideal, making it tricky to keep your car on the track. The graphics are described as having distant scenery, although the cars look fine when they're close up. The game includes standard modes like Grand Prix, Quick Race and Time Trial, and there's also a multiplayer option. One plus point mentioned is the inclusion of real drivers and cars from the era, and the ability to tweak your car setup, which is a nice touch for F1 fans. Despite these features, the actual racing gameplay is highlighted as being rather dull, even though the front-end presentation is decent. The game includes built-in rumble support and covers F1 history and rules, which are positives, but the dull gameplay and plain graphics are listed as drawbacks. Looking at the ratings, graphics, audio, gameplay and challenge are all shown with middling scores, leading to an overall score of 40%. The soundbite sums it up. Nice front end, shame about the game. There are also various other adverts on the page, for things like forbidden knowledge books, joke phone lines, game sales from Game Collection Limited covering various consoles including N64, and Cheats unlimited phone lines for tips and cheats. These fill up the rest of the page. This page is the score zone, where readers get their chance to shine by submitting their best scores and times in various N64 games. It explains how to get your name and scores featured in the magazine, requiring proof like a photo or video. The page lists high scores for loads of different games, showcasing the dedication of N64 players at the time, like Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, Tony Hawk Skateboarding, Star Wars, Episode 1 Racer, Donkey Kong 64, Quake 2 and many more across various genres, from racers like Top Gear Rally and Extreme G, to action titles like Jet Force Gemini and Shadows of the Empire. This page continues the score zone, showcasing reader high scores across a variety of N64 titles. You'll find dedicated sections for players who've pushed the limits in games like Star Fox/Lylat Wars, Mario Kart 64, Micro Machines 64 Turbo, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, Quake 64, Banjo-Kazooie, the European exclusive Racer Scars, Wave Race 64, Mario Party, Blast Corps, and Beetle Adventure Racing. It really highlights the dedication of the N64 community at the time. There's also a feature on the Ultimate Player Award, presenting the Logic 3 Top Drive steering wheel as the prize for top gamers. This page starts off the Cheat Central section, presenting the magazine's comprehensive A to Z of hints, tips and cheats guide. It's a huge list of secrets, tips and codes for various N64 games, updated monthly, with new additions highlighted in red. You can find cheats for games like Airborder 64, Automobili Lamborghini 64, Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, Aerofighters Assault, and many others, including Bomberman Hero, Body Harvest, Battle Tanks, Global Assault with characters shown, and Buck Bumble, also with a character. It covers everything from unlocking characters and levels, to infinite ammo and special abilities. This was always the go-to section for anyone looking to find hidden features or make a tough game a bit easier. This page continues the Cheat Central section, with loads more codes and tips. You've got cheats for classics like Diddy Kong Racing, Duke Nukem 64 and 0 Hour, the essential GoldenEye 007, Mace, the Dark Age Mischief Makers, and Mortal Kombat Trilogy, all with character shots like Diddy, Duke, Bond, and Sub-Zero. It's packed with unlocks, invincibility, and game modifiers. This page carries on with the Cheat Central section, offering more unlocks and secrets for a range of N64 titles. You'll find cheats for Mortal Kombat 4, featuring character shots of Tanya, Quan Chi, and Motaro, among others. There are also tips for Mario Party, Mario Golf, NHL Breakaway 98, Off-Road Challenge, Puyo Puyo Sun 64, and both Quake and Quake 2. The page includes a great picture of the Mario crew, like Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, and DK, as well as a gnarly beast from Quake. This page is absolutely jammed with cheat central goodness, giving you the lowdown on secrets for loads more N64 titles. You've got passwords for Rainbow Six and Ready 2 Rumble Boxing, plus all sorts of unlocks for games like Robotron 64, Rakuga Kids with alternate costumes, and Road Rash 64 offering different colors and modes. Rush 2, Extreme Racing USA has a ton of stuff from hidden tracks and cars to gravity changes and invincibility. There's also a massive section for Rampage 2, Universal Tour, featuring character unlocks like Vern, and the beast from the game looks pretty epic, dominating the page. On top of that, you'll find cheats for Rugrats Treasure Hunt, Shadowgate 64, the rarely seen SCCD RS, Resident Evil 2, 1080 snowboarding with its unlockable modes and borders, and the trick list for Supercross 2000. It's a proper treasure trove of gameplay modifiers. This page carries on with the Cheat Central section, packing in loads more secrets for your N64 favorites. You've got cheats for the likes of South Park, including character unlocks and modes, and South Park Rally with hidden races. There are extensive cheats for Star Wars Racer and Shadows of the Empire, giving you infinite lives, character changes, and access to levels and modes. Star Soldier offers extra options, and Space Station. Silicon Valley lets you mess with the intro, get bonus levels, and unlock worlds. Snowboard Kids has codes for all characters and courses, and there's a tip for changing costumes in Super Smash Bros. Plus, you've got some great character art scattered about, including the South Park gang and some cool designs from other N64 titles. This page carries on with the Cheat Central section, bringing more secrets for a cracking selection of N64 games. You'll find cheats for Superman, the Top Gear racing games like Rally and Overdrive, the classic shooters Turok and Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, Car Combat Mayhem in Vigilante 8, both Tetrisphere and the new Tetris, the racing sim Rally, Tarzan, Toy Story 2, and the snowboarding action of Twisted Edge Extreme. The codes give you access to things like level selects, unlocking vehicles and characters, activating different gameplay modes, and gaining advantages like infinite health or weapons. All this is accompanied by great artwork featuring Tarzan, the much-loved characters from Toy Story, and some intriguing figures from the Turok, Tetrisphere, and Vigilante 8 worlds. The next page dives into the world of arcades, detailing visits to local Sega parks and the games they've been playing. They've really got hooked on Dancing Stage Euromix, calling it one of the greatest games ever. They also checked out 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker, which puts you in the cab of a big rig, driving across America, and delivering goods against a rival. It's described as shaking you up and being addictive. Screenshots show the driving cabinet and gameplay views. Crisis Zone, the third in the series, gets a mention. It's a shooter where you use a machine gun to take on terrorists, save civilians, and save the world. They reckon it's incredibly action-packed. Screenshots show the game cabinet and players with light guns. Evok, a classic game highlighted, is Daytona USA. It's described as tremendous fun, and a game that will always be around, fitting nicely into the fun racing games category. A screenshot shows two players in the racing cabinets. There's a competition offering the chance to win a free play night at a Sega park for you and 4 friends, with runner-up prizes too. It links back to the dancing game mentioned earlier. Finally, there are cut-out vouchers for Sega Park featuring Sonic the Hedgehog, offering a buy one game get one free deal. The next page steps away from the Nintendo 64 world to look at other bits and bobs that might be of interest. They've got a write-up on the Chicken Run Beanie Babies, featuring characters like Ginger and Rocky. There's a look at a home version of Whack-A-Mole, which looks like a decent bit of fun for stress relief. Movie-wise, they're talking about the film Three Kings, starring George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice Cube, noting its mix of genres and availability on DVD and video. For something a bit different, there's a musical Britney Spears poster that plays her music, along with a mention of the popular Street Surfer scooters available at New Look. Finally, they cover a couple of graphic novels, one from the Books of Magic series called The Burning Girl, and a Star Wars tale from the Jedi Academy line titled Leviathan, following Luke Skywalker. This page continues the Not Nintendo section, showcasing various items beyond the N64 realm. They feature several books and graphic novels from Titan Books, including the adult sci-fi comic Transmetropolitan, the Star Wars book Union which covers Luke Skywalker's wedding, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer graphic novel Crash Test Demons, and the Spawn comic Termination. There's a competition offering Kevin Spacey films, like Ordinary Decent Criminal on video, and DVD. Other items include the TMXRC, Dragonfly radio-controlled car and Blockbots construction toys that can transform into robots or a spaceship. Lastly, they review the American football film Any Given Sunday, directed by Oliver Stone, available on video and DVD. The next page is a subscription and back issues form for 64 magazine. It highlights a mega deal where you subscribe for 12 issues and pick a free N64 game from a list including F-Zero-X, Mario Kart, GoldenEye, 1080 Degrees Snowboarding, F1 World Grand Prix 2, or Banjo-Kazooie, potentially saving a good chunk of money. You can also get a free solutions book for games like Zelda 64 or Banjo-Kazooie. There's also a section for ordering back issues of the magazine. This page details the Nindex, which is the magazine's comprehensive guide to every N64 game reviewed, allowing quick comparison. It explains the key indicators used in the list, like players, accessory compatibility, controller pack, rumble pack, expansion pack, region availability, issue number reviewed, score, and a brief comment, along with genre definitions like adventure, platform, and sports. The page also features the Our Top 10 Games, showcasing screenshots for titles like Perfect Dark, StarCraft 64, GoldenEye, and The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, highlighting the very best the system has to offer. This Nindex page reviews various N64 games, offering scores and brief comments for comparison. It features 64 top lists, highlighting the best titles across genres like shooters, Perfect Dark, GoldenEye, adventure, Zelda, fighting, WWF WrestleMania 2000, platformers, Rayman 2, Donkey Kong 64, and 4-player games, Perfect Dark, GoldenEye. A Test of Time section revisits older reviews. Automobili Lamborghini's score dropped from 80% to 68%. Puyo Puyo Sun 64 improved from 87% to 89%, and Clay Fighter 63 1/3 remained a dismal 8%, originally 13%. Screenshots accompany these revisited reviews. This page carries on with the Nindex reviews, giving scores and comments for a massive list of N64 games across various genres. You've got sections highlighting the 64 top games in racing, sports, party/puzzle, strategy/simulation, and amusingly, bad games. It's a comprehensive look at the N64 library up to this point. Down below, there's a 64 Magazine's Most Wanted section showcasing some seriously anticipated titles. You've got Donald Duck, which would turn out to be going quackers, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Resident Evil 0, Zelda, Majora's Mask, and StarCraft 64. It's interesting to see Resident Evil 0 listed here, as it ultimately became a GameCube title, and Conker famously changed its tone quite drastically from what was expected. StarCraft 64, a cracking real-time strategy game, saw a frustrating delay for its UK release, which is mentioned here. And then there's that bad games list, always a bit of a laugh, topped by the absolute disasters like Carmageddon and the perennial failure, Clay Fighter. Just goes to show that not every N64 game was a winner. This page gives us a look ahead at what's coming up in the next issue and features a massive competition. Looking at the previews, the next issue is billed as covering a ton of Ubisoft titles, which is great to hear. They're planning reviews or features on Batman of the Future, Tom and Jerry, Fists of Fury, and Donald Duck, which is the N64 Going Quackers game. Plus, they'll be covering some Ubisoft Game Boy Color games like Donald Duck, Tom and Jerry, The Jungle Book, and a couple of Batman titles. The Plus section lists even more N64 heavy hitters getting covered, many of which were on the previous page's Most Wanted list. We're talking Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, The Huge Banjo-Tooie, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, Rush 2049, Ready 2 Rumble Boxing, Round 2, the Bond classic The World Is Not Enough, and Conker's Bad Fur Day. They're also mentioning the latest on the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. The rest of the page is primarily taken up by a big competition, offering a whole load of prizes. There's also the standard magazine masthead, and a form for reserving your copy.